So you guys might be wondering, why are we in the airplane construction building, which is by the way what this is. Well, you see, what had happened was my computer messed up again and I lost the entire episode. It was done. I had it all perfectly narrated, there was music in it, the video was flawless, but I messed up a little something and now the whole thing's just unusable. So unfortunately guys, I don't have that entire episode. I'm going to try to fill you in as much as I can, but at the same time I'm going to let you guys go ahead and watch me build an airplane, because airplanes are going to be useful for doing specific science things, like where I need to get in a certain point in the air. So this will be an airplane that I'm going to be using in the rest of the series, but I don't really know if I should consider this episode part of it, because I don't know. First of all, this is going to be a really short episode because it is late in the day. I was going to upload my video and then I saw it just gone. So I am going to have to kind of do all this on the spur of the moment. I think I will consider it somewhat an episode because I am going to be progressing a little bit with, the addition of a plane. And also I did quite a bit of science, which I'll show you one of the launches. But I think for the most part, I think I'm going to have this episode kind of explain to you guys what's going on with my YouTube channel. So I want to start posting more often. This entire week I haven't really done too much. But I want to post daily because I watch quite a few different YouTubers. Pretty much all of them post either daily or every other day. It's something that I think would help out my channel. Of course, that's going to be a lot more work and probably more frustration with this computer than I can even handle. Actually, it might not, because the way I want to do one day shoots, because if you're going to be recording every single day, you got to do it that day and then edit that day and everything like that. The way I think I want to do it is just have an hour-long video and then upload that and then cut down to 15 or 20 minutes. Because the way I usually do it is I have a bunch of 15-minute videos that I upload, and 15-minute adds up because I usually download about 15 of those. So I used to be good at math. I'm not going to do that. You guys can do that, but it's quite a bit of space to take up with the computer. If I do daily shoots and it's just an hour-long thing, I think it would be a little bit easier. But of course, at the same time, I'm going to have to be editing daily. But that's what I plan on doing with my channel in the near future. And while I'm off the topic of Kerbal Space Program, hold on, let me go to my channel real quick. So I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Angel Bella. She's been deep up in my comments section for a very long time. For almost every single time I upload a video, I see about 10 or 20 minutes later, I see her commenting something, and I really appreciate that, so thank you. Now back to Kerbal Space Program. You guys can probably see those weird ball thingies I just put on. So the yellow one is the center of mass, and that pretty much tells me where the center of mass is. That's pretty self-explanatory. But the one down there, the purple one, that's center of thrust, and right now I don't have an engine. That's why it's kind of sitting on the ground. The only thrust I'd really get is my tires going into the ground, and that's gonna be pushing backwards, which is why it's pointing like that. Another thing that you guys, I don't think you really noticed it because I've been kind of just talking, but these fuel things I'm putting on here, the fuel tanks, they're not regular fuel. They're not the liquid fuel and oxidizer. They're actually just liquid fuel, and I actually need to put an air scoop to get oxygen. So I'll kind of show you guys that. These two tanks here are my plans to put the engines on, because I only have one jet engine and it's kind of small, so I have to use these along with the air intake. It's actually kind of small, so it kind of works out perfectly. You guys will probably see this is the air intake. I just need to grab that and I could throw it on the front just like that, and then I have two air intakes, and that's pretty much how that works. And then I can come back into my engine section and grab my only jet engine, and yeah, it's pretty small, so it's only gonna fit on these small ones. It could fit on the bigger one, but it just looks really weird. It's kind of like a huge step down. So now my center of thrust, as you guys can see, is above my center of mass, and if you think about it, that's gonna push my ship into the ground because it's rotating it forward, and eventually the thrust is pointing up, and it's no good. So I decided to move them underneath the wing. I think it looks way cooler too, so I left with that. And now of course I need my tail fins to make it look a little bit more like an airplane, but more importantly, stabilize it a little bit. And the technique I'm using right now is I'm actually pointing them or angling them upwards, and that's actually going to help the plane kind of stay level. Now all I need is just a rudder to keep it from spinning horizontally. Just take off the 2 because I only need 1 right on top. Does that look good? Nope. It's a little too far back. Move it up just a little bit. I don't want to go too much because I did like the way it looked. I think that's fine right there. So yeah, there's our ship, you guys. Well, not our ship. I guess this one's a jet. So I think it's looking pretty good. I don't exactly remember where all the beach balls are supposed to be. Like my center of mass and my center of lift, my thrust, whatever. I don't exactly remember those are supposed to be, but that's why we're going to test it out. And if you're doing a test, you probably want to be extra precautious, so I'm going to go ahead and split this from the cabin. That way, if something bad happens, I can use this decoupler and jettison my pilot away from the crashing airplane. There we go. And let's go see how this thing flies. Perfect. So, as soon as I launched, something blew up. It seems like both of the wheels are missing, the rear wheels. So, in order to figure this out, because this happens a lot in Kerbal Space Program, you kind of just have to launch it again, and from there you can go and make your changes. At first, I didn't have quite the brightest idea, so I just put some more wheels on it. And I kind of knew that wasn't going to do too much, but I felt that it would kind of protect the back end, and even if the front ones did break, I could just go off of those. You guys can probably figure out that that wouldn't really work out too well without me even having to tell you to, but that was just one of my troubleshoot solutions. Let me show you another one. I kind of figured that if the problem was it landing on the wheels too hard, I should have something else that it can land on, and then I can ditch that onto the wheels, make it a little bit softer on them. So I put this little wire frame in the back. It's attached to a radial mount decoupler, so I can ditch it whenever I want to, which technically means I could use it as a bomb, but I haven't even been able to get the wings in the air yet, so we're not anywhere near that point. So here's this experiment, and it actually worked pretty dang well. It landed right on the wireframes, and just as I thought, the wheels were going to be just barely off the ground. But it's not a problem. I can just go ahead and come in here and decouple it. And after I do that, it just kind of pops in the air a little bit, and I can wiggle myself off onto my wheels. So at this point, things are looking pretty dang good. I'm aiming down the runway. My engine is now at max throttle, so as the turbines start to spin, they can actually collect more air because it's going faster, pushing more air through it. But unfortunately, the runway is more unstable than a three-way between a cat, a mouse, and a dog. Pretty much at this point, I dropped my controller and just said, "Gravity, stop this thing from rolling," because I don't know how I didn't lose Jebediah in that crash. The cockpits are way more sturdy, but that was sketchy. I kind of figured it doesn't really matter how good I make the ship if my runway looks like a trail that a four-wheeler would go on. So first of all, the expense of having to fix that ship is probably nullified by the expense of fixing the runway, so I'm gonna go see how much it costs. Because first of all, my ship is $11,000, which is a lot of money, and I just lost pretty much all of it in that crash. Because right here, I'm only getting $1,400 for the cockpit and the wheel. So that sucks. It's time to upgrade the runway and probably do some changes to the ship as well. So the runway cost me about $20,000, which is really cheap considering how good it looks now. My ship is kind of bouncy, but that's more because of the ship more than anything else, and this is the final stage of it. I'm not gonna do anything else to it. I just gotta get it to the other side of the runway and we're good. One of the great things about the ship is that it's actually pointing up, because once again, at first those wheels being so high and falling, breaking them sucked in the beginning, but when you get them to work, them being lower is actually facing the ship upwards. That way I don't really have to pull up on the wings. I can just set it and it would go and eventually lift off. So what I've done is I put on the brakes, and now I fired the engine trying to get them to spool up a little bit before I take it off. That way I have more thrust per runway, because now it's going to start going pretty quickly. And once again, this isn't the full upgrade on the runway. I still have little cracks in it, as you guys can see it bounce like that right there. But luckily that doesn't really break anything, especially with the fuel tank on the very back being really close to the ground. It's kind of scary to take off because you're tilting that towards the ground essentially. So what I do is I go all the way off the runway to the very end, and then eventually it just drops off. I don't have to worry about pulling up. So a huge part of it is letting the computer take control, because when I use the controls, it's very difficult to keep it going stably, which was actually a kind of puzzle to figure out, because I would pull on the stick to go to the left and it would kind of rotate to the right, and the more I try to correct the ship from spazzing out, the more it wanted to. So I kind of had to ditch this attempt. It wasn't going to really go anywhere anyways, other than the ocean obviously, which is actually pretty cool to watch because the main stage went pretty dang slow. So it was pretty awesome to watch, but I was kind of watching the fins when I was flying, and I think I learned what the problem was. What was that? Oh, one of the wings is still flying around. Alright, so like I said, I was looking at the wings and I think I know what the problem was. So when I try to turn it to the left, my rudder wants to help for some reason and it turns to the left as well, which is actually rotating the whole thing itself because it's kind of off to the side of the center of the mass. So what I did is I went ahead and turned off the yaw, which is my left and right stick controller. That's what the yaw is. And I went and turned those off on all the horizontal lift type wing shape structures. And that did disable me from using yaw, but the thing is, I would rather not be spinning at that point than using yaw. I can still rotate the ship just fine, which is the main way a jet would want to be turning anyways, because yaw seems like, unless you're trying to land with wind, it's not very important, and I don't think wind is a factor in Kerbal Space Program, so I wasn't too worried about it. I'm pretty good at flying a jet, so I went ahead and attempted landing this one back at the airport. But if you can see on the left, I barely used any fuel at all, and that fuel is really heavy, so it's weighing me down. I didn't have enough surface, and I wasn't going fast enough to actually keep my altitude, and I was too high, so I used my parachutes. I didn't quite decouple it because I wanted to see if I can recover the whole ship. You know, I wasn't scared. I wasn't trying to run away from it, but I was going 10 meters per second, and at the last second, I made the decision that maybe saved Jebediah's life. So the good news is most of that ship is actually recoverable. At this point, I've launched about, I think I did 11 of these, and not too many of them worked as well as this. So we're definitely on our way to having an aircraft that can fly somewhere within the atmosphere. Of course, once you're out of the atmosphere, the air scoops aren't going to work more and your jet engines are going to cut off. But there are other special jets that we can use for that, and I'm pretty excited for it. We're at about 13 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this video here. I apologize if this one bored you guys. It is super late, and I wasn't expecting to have to record anything. I thought I was good, you know, but poop happens, so stick around for the next one. I'm Titanium Blood. Drive Saddlers.